Hello, and welcome to another scene for Darkness in Dublin, the Mage venue. It is Mage, the Magening, where there are surly pagans, so surly, that have left the bar and the company of undesirables in favor of walking along, one cradling the body of a horribly mangled and injured cat, and potentially with her other hand taking hold of Callie's, as they simply, even very possibly in just kind of stiff silence, not because they're mad at each other, but mad at much of what just took place, just kind of stiffly, quickly going ahead and walking back. Morgan has not actually brought Callie to her place yet, but we will say, let it be known that she has given both of the other characters in this scene her address as well as her phone number, so they could make their way there. She will lead Callie along, moving moving through the streets and whatnot to a fairly simple kind of townhouse situation where it's actually, I guess, kind of duplexy. I don't know. Whatever the case, there are two floors, and they will enter on the ground floor, where it's fairly clear that the little entrance area has been kind of cleaned up. There's a rack for shoes and whatnot. Um, Morgan will precede her, if only to unlock the door and invite her in, reaching in to flick on the light so that she can see where she's going. There is a mat there for the people first stepping inside, but once you move past that first, just initial little kind of cubby of a hallway, it opens into what was probably meant to be kind of split by furniture into a sitting area, and then there's, a kitchen beyond. But much of it has been cleared. There are places to sit, but more than anything, it almost looks like the inside of a temple. Not a church, not in the Christian sense, but it is very clearly set up as a place of worship with a curtain drawn up, ceiling to floor, to cut off the kitchen and kind of visual sign of it from this main room. I potentially it was meant to be a living room, who knows? But there are many icons to Celtic deities. There is certainly a place of prominence for the Morrigan, but it's kind of, yeah, it's what you'd more expect to see in a temple than a home. There's a little staircase leading upstairs, but once they've gotten inside and Morgan has flicked the door shut, she doesn't bother locking it for whatever reason. She just kind of gesture to welcome Callie in, even going so far as to perhaps pull out, um, not a chair so much as a cushion, places to recline on the floor, kind of nudging it out before taking this poor cat and moving kind of towards uh, an altar of sorts.
Kai doesn't sit, she paces and moves around. She is almost frantically watching the cat. She is, if you've ever seen anyway a snake agitated, she is just, between the various guttural noises she makes of her own language to the various hisses that she just seems to pace along, just her hands are tense. She's bitten down now her nails, like her fingers are actually bleeding. And she's just pacing and pacing and pacing and pacing.
And admittedly, Morgan has to take a moment to ensure that once she's kind of set this cat down on this raised, it really is an altar. Once she's set it down there, it seems to have recognized the difference between being held by a captor and an abuser and held by someone who is doing it no harm. So I imagine for the moment, once it's set down, it just kind of, I mean, most injured animals, when not fleeing, it's probably just laying there, maybe trying to groom a bit, but probably just resting on its side, breathing in a labored fashion, but just trying to live. There's probably some discordant motion. The tail has been, as was mentioned before, kind of broken, so it flicks a bit, but it's piteous, the condition it's in. So she will ensure that this cat is settled, is not going to respond with fear, is not going to try to leap down and hurt itself further. And will once she's got it settled, we'll come around, looking to kind of catch a hold, not of the hand that Callie's biting viciously, but as she next paces past, we'll kind of reach out to snag the one hanging at her side.
It shakily takes yours. She's just coursing with anger.
And once she's got it, she even brings around the other hand to clasp the back of it. Don't let yourself be driven by their ignorance.
I want to skin them. I want to take their eyes. I want to peel their skin. I want to crush their bones and spread it out like an eagle, like wings.
She kind of tilts her head a little and kind of nods with a shrug, that kind of like, you're not wrong. And pardon me just a moment. Food just arrived after I get the door.
She just continued pacing, as ranting, swearing, cursing, shouting.
As Collins continues his fall through the ether.
Oh no. I have been falling for 30 minutes!
Pretty much. Intermission. Here it is. Intermission. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Get ourselves a snack.
Back, sorry.
Hey.
Hey.
But yes, Callie paces and paces and starts. And she'll turn and look at the cat. If that thing dies, I will make sure they pay for every inch of blood they took and ripped and tore.
Oh, this cat isn't going anywhere. She actually, it's a strangely modern motion to make, but she reaches into her pocket, pulls out her phone, clicks it on, and pulls up a group chat. And she takes a moment, typing out a quick message, sends it, and will start glancing at the open screen here and there as responses start to flood in. But eventually gives kind of a nod of approval, types one more thing, clicks off the screen, shoves it back in her pocket. It'll be fine.
compass. She just starts pacing and pacing and pacing.
I'm sure they just imagine us beyond such cares. Then again, I don't think they know the difference between a sacrifice and cruelty, so they are no better than ignorant.
That child got what she deserved.
Absolutely. She got more than she deserved. To make something like that, something like us. Bad omen.
It is. But she will learn to live with it and face it. And if needs be, I will educate her.
Go figure. She inflicted suffering on another living being, and now she has learned to survive suffering herself.
She just keeps pacing.
And she'll eventually slip through the curtain. Though she'll pause as she does. You'll actually see her go over to there are windows. For the most part, they are kind of, I want to say, disguised. Like, the attention isn't drawn to the fact that they're a window, and there are applications to the glass that lessen the amount of light that comes through. But she will flick one of them open, mostly so that Kelmore can come and take a perch inside. She'll turn a glance over just before she moves past the curtain to the kitchen. You can let him out.
She just almost shoves the bag out. Even Fenrir doesn't talk to Callie in this state. He kind of just slumps out and pads off, essentially.
And she will, only so briefly, only so long, disappear into the kitchen. She'll return with another bottle of whiskey because she didn't even get to finish. She didn't even get halfway through the other one.
And what's worst about the whole thing, Collins invited me out.
There's a twist of a glance. And after she has to turn her head dramatically to look at her, she's reminded, oh yeah, this stupid shit. And reaches up, snags the eye patch, and flicks it off, like kind of tosses it off onto one of the pillows.
They ruined our night out. They ruined. Bites her lip.
Oh, Callie, there won't be more.
I can't go out like this.
Not in this moment. Not when you're angry. But there will be more.
If they see my scars as such a thing to compare.
She kind of, again, she's made the gesture several times in the past. She just reaches up and lightly, like, doesn't even touch the scars per se, but reaches up and just very lightly touches the line of her jaw. If all they see are scars, then it shows how much they see, doesn't it? One more thing that proves their ignorance.
She just takes long, strained breaths as she's pacing.
And she'll take a swig out of the bottle and finally reach past the curtain, kind of blind grasping. And of all things, we'll grab a glass, and you can tell she probably bought these recently. No shit pulls out like a little, single package bendy straw. And we'll place them on a side table. We'll place the whiskey glass beside it, kind of glancing over. Not necessarily wanting to pour something she won't take interest in, but...
She picks up the bottle and kind of half drinks it on the right side, hissing because some of it definitely went in the sensitive areas of that scar tissue.
The sympathetic wince.
I am sorry. They poked me tonight, and I do not tolerate humiliation from
Nor
anyone.
should you.
If that's how they treat us, then they will expect to receive something far more colder from me from now on.
They don't seem to think about their actions. I'm sure that the next time we see them, they'll be all smiles and what could I have done wrong?
I will break that glass paw's jaw in 5 places if he tries to shake my hand.
There's just
I
kind
will,
of
I will
nod.
bite off his tongue, his nose, his lip. She just starts pacing and swearing. You know what I mean? You get the impression she's just so fucking mad. No
Yep.
point. There is, yeah, you just get that impression. I'll give you this. There is no point in approaching this with sensibility. There is too much pagan.
There's pagan intensifies. She will reach in past the curtain again, pulling out a bag of jerky that, let's face it, no one's looked in yet, but there's probably just so many snacky foods on the counter in there. She'll pull out, the bag of jerky, stick a piece in her mouth, crouch down, and flick a piece over by Fenrir.
If you, for comedic purposes, if you notice, her and Fenrir are doing the exact same pacing.
Oh, God.
You know, the zigzag, zigzag, I'm an angry dog pace.
And before terribly long, there will be just such a polite little knock at the door. Kind of muted thing, and Morgan does not seem even remotely surprised. And goes to it, inviting in, just as far as can be told, just a normal person in a very simple robe that they've probably just thrown on over their clothes, really. And a couple of them come inside, and as Callie continues pacing, she will be very respectfully left alone as the various members of the cult begin to filter in groups of 3s and 5s, maybe a single one here and there, but they begin to come about. And while they may quietly talk amongst themselves, they keep politely to themselves, and they seem to have places that they are used to kneeling or sitting about the room that they just kind of filter to automatically, each taking their spot. And she'll eventually take something of a, that mute head count where you can see her eyes flicking between them. She does not put her eye patch back on for these people, by the by. It stays off. And she flicks a glance around the room. You can see her doing kind of the internal head count, like whenever her fingers kind of wiggles, it's just like, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Enough. And she will send another message into the group chat. Thankfully, 15 phones don't just go off. There are rules about coming to the temple. And once she is sure that any stragglers know not to make an appearance at this point, the cutoff has happened, she will likewise briefly disappear upstairs, coming down in a more elaborate outfit than the rest. They have something simple, something they can throw on over their clothes, something that shows taking care enough to show up prepared, but not something heinously demanding. And I will even invite, if Collins would like to come in while she's doing it, she will leave Callie to her pacing. Tell her she's welcome to go upstairs if she likes. But is going to begin this ritual over this poor cat, invoking the blessings of I mean, Dana's the mother, so. But yes, basically reaching out for blessings, at some point even using very gingerly stroking the cat to get some of the blood from it and marking the panel it lays on with it. But we'll begin something of a prolonged process with the aid of these worshippers, likewise calling out to the same gods. Several even slipping into Gaelic, most slipping into Gaelic, in fact. Though there's one or two that probably have not gotten a proper handle on the language, and so it's enough that you can follow along, understand what they're saying, what they're doing. But they're making an earnest appeal. And that way, if Collins would like to show up, Callie can answer the door, and I can be over here making rolls.
Outside the front door, there is a loud thump.
Yeah, Callie walks over immediately and opens the door.
There is a Collins, covered in red dirt, face first, on the sidewalk.
Oh, she like immediately like whips open the door and begins to literally haul him fireman carry style in. Just woof. But
Ow.
immediately set him down on the couch.
Ow.
Hey, you okay?
No? I think my ribs are busted, but I'll be fine.
Well, you did kind of get sucked into oblivion for a bit. You had me worried.
One wasn't Oblivion. Definitely not Oblivion, because there's a whole lot of stuff there. Oh, he blinks slowly. Like there's water in his eyes. He looks definitely worse for wear. Ooh. Definitely pissed off that little girl. Oh boy.
I'm sure she did, but wandering around ripping animals to pieces for her own amusement didn't exactly earn her a clap back of kindness.
I think she'll be on the right path. I think. I think I may have interacted with her avatar. There's a good chance.
I'm sure any man as persuasive as you are can do that.
Kind of shrugs his head, and shrugs, tilts his head to the side. Did not see that coming.
No, I don't think any of us did. But we stood by each other.
Yeah, we do. It's what we do. We stand up for each other. And when the world comes crashing down,
I'm sorry about date night.
me too.
You looked great.
Thank you. You look good yourself. I appreciate it. I was hoping to show you to this nicer restaurant, but next time, no blowy buildings.
Next time, I'll wear a dress and everything.
Wear what you feel comfortable. He shakes his head. And he kind of moves and stretches. You can hear things popping that shouldn't pop.
She winces. Do you need me to get you anything?
No, I'm fine. I'm fine. Okay. Oh, definitely not going out in the city anymore. It's full of shitheads and angry spirits.
Definitely the shitheads, at least. Thank you for calming me down.
Did what I could. I'm sorry I lost my cool.
I didn't mind it. Just smiling. It was fun to hear you shout. She says she's walking over to pick up, pour him a drink, essentially.
Oh. He'll kind of like shift and things will pop again. Puts his hand in his head. Oh. Where is this? This is Morgan's house, isn't it?
Nod.
Where is she?
Lets out a whistle, upstairs.
And actually, we'll say there's even a second kind of curtain that's been drawn, which would explain why he hasn't seen her. Though he can probably hear it. He may even think that it's some sort of recording, even of praises and whatnot. But it will not be terribly long, in fact, before, especially with the whistle and all, there will still be a bit of time before the ablutions end, and Morgan, looking ever so smug and sans the eye patch, draws the curtain aside and has, tucked up under the arm so that it's held against her body, but an arm splayed under its chest is this just beautifully healthy, glistening black coat, black cat, big amber eyes, alert, very lively. It has been healed for more damage than it has health levels. It is feeling good today.
Oh, right. And
Yeah.
he'll nod. So, kitten's doing okay?
She gives a nod, and all things considered, she has Kelmore perched nearby, probably giving off the occasional kind of disgruntled little croak. And Fenrir's on the floor, doing whatever Fenrir is doing.
He is displeased by the new cat that has appeared. He is
And as such, though she is stroking its head a time or two, she will actually come forward and just kind of plop this cat in Colin's lap. Though she will give him a look over, because how fucked up is he?
He is covered in red dirt, and every so often when he moves, there's the sounds of things going back into place.
And so she will kind of catch his hand after she's dropped the cat in his lap. Mostly to catch his attention, so he'll, snap a glance up.
And he looks up.
Are you injured in any significant way?
He shakes his head. I'm all right. Just some bruising internally.
There's a brief narrowing of the eyes, like, you wouldn't lie to me to be a badass, would you? Kind of that assessing whether he's trying to look like he's better off than he is.
No.
So
He just, he has a decent command of life, at least when it comes to his body.
Yeah, the eyes narrow very briefly, and then rouse up, eyebrows kind of popping, like, oh, okay. And she'll release the hand, albeit she reaches up and gives his pat, gives his cheek this kind of light pat, because let's face it, especially if he's looking a little worse for the wear, she doesn't want to make an aching head suddenly split in pain, but give a light pat, and you're all still there.
Yep.
Good.
All in one piece.
And give me a moment to disperse my following. She'll go ahead and turn around and properly draw back the curtains again. And again, revealing it's certainly some sort of temple type setup in lieu of a proper dining room or living room. And she will mutter phrases that, while they're in Gaelic and thus there are even people among her following who don't understand it, it's probably a set of words used each time to, you know, call it all well and good, to call it done, to send them back to their lives. And, at that point the prayers stop, and one by one they'll begin kind of getting up and offering a polite nod, first to Morgan and then to the other two, simply because they are guests of hers. And they just kind of filter out. They don't linger, they don't chatter, they do their shit, and they get the fuck out. At which point Morgan will finally kind of flop on top of some of the cushions that are, as revealed, essentially kneeling cushions, for her own sake. Did you have any sort of fantastical revelation? There's a tiny teasing smirk.
Pissed off that kid's avatar.
Bet you did.
Oh yeah, real bad. And I think I broke through the dream shell.
You're the what?
Was sent out beyond the dream shell. If you have spirit lore, the dream shell is kind of the our solar system.
She does not, which is why she is probably looking kind of like, okay, whatever, this is a you thing.
Kai's eyes go, whoa.
Callie gets it. Morgan kind of shrugs and reaches for the whiskey bottle.
Then what happened?
It's all really blurry. She is a child who's either touched by justice or is going to be a force for justice.
Good.
Serves her right.
Hopefully she learned a lesson.
She did. She will.
What happened to her?
You're not going to like what they said about us.
Oh, I'm sure.
Glasspaw and the Eric one said that it was continuously all our fault for what happened. We, looks at Morgan.
Made accusations of attacking the child. Or of doing ill magics on her. Funny. Considering that they were standing there, watching, doing nothing. Must be very easy to use those empty hands to point. But the girl is fine. That man, one running that place, he calmed her, brought her inside, fed her. She was probably better off in his care than anyone else's, so we left her to it.
Fair. I don't like this glass paw.
I don't either. He's provocative, and that is fine. But now he's past the point where I will be provocative.
I think he says more than he thinks. But then again, he seems to see and say everything. Babbles like a brook.
Dangerous.
Not as long as he doesn't have anything of ours to babble.
Oh, I'm sure we'll get all kinds of weird shit coming our way now.
I'll send them home until they bother to erect a proper dais and stake for me.
They can try at least.
You could at least do me the service of putting a little effort into it.
Besides, if they come near you, I'll take their hand.
And she just reaches out again, just to very briefly clasp her hand, like, "Oh, that's such a sweet thing to say," like earnestly, as if just touched, just touches her soul.
I think it's time we concentrated on building a place of our own.
Yeah. I agree.
A proper place for the three of us.
Not.
I have no intentions of getting caught out alone.
We should do it by ourselves whenever possible.
You're getting slightly harder to hear.
We should avoid being by ourselves whenever possible.
Obnoxious but true. I think Agrabah Nights is the only place where there are figures to reinforce peacefulness between the patrons.
Unless the Infernalist walks around openly.
Ugh.
He audibly rolls his eyes.
Rolls them so hard you can hear it.
Yes. One. There's a literal open and out and about Infernalist.
Oh, yes.
Carrying the devil's baby. And nobody bats a fucking eye. What the actual? He goes off and mutters.
I mean, in the end, I suppose it is a normal child until the demon names it as it has been given the right to do. But she did still cut a deal.
I find it fascinating that we're the ones who receive scrutiny.
You could at least do things in proper order. Maybe deal with their mounting number of Infernalists, from what I can tell, before coming after us for doing simply as we do.
And they always come for us, though.
Don't they just?
That's why we'll have our own chantry where they can't reach or find.
Indeed.
We need to find a place sooner rather than later.
Nods. Do you have a spare bed, Morgan?
I have a large bed. She grins.
I need to sleep.
Of course. Take it. She just gestures to the stairs.
She just nods wearily, as her player is absolutely exhausted. So yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah.
get some.
I'm running out of gas.
Yeah. I'll meet you two up there. I'm going to lie down.
She nod. Go over to Collins, who admittedly is looking kind of like shit right now.
Oh yeah, you look like shit real bad.
You said he's covered in like red earth.
Like red dust and red earth.
Would you like a shower, Collins?
Yes. And I'd like to pass the hell out.
Like I said, it's a very big bed.
That sounds like a good plan. I'll take you up on that.
When both of you come into the bedroom, Callie is in the middle of the bed, like curled up like literally like a snake. Like she's curled up in a tiny ball in the middle of the bed.
Aw.
Fast asleep.
Oh.
Fast asleep.
And is Fenrir like sleeping on top of Callie?
Yeah. Effectively, yes.
That's
Like she's
fabulous.
curled in a ball and he's on top of her shoulder, like wrapped around in a little ball as well.
That's adorable. That is adorable.
And for what it's worth, Morgan will scoop up the poor cat and take it upstairs and probably end up putting out like a can of tuna for it because she's not sure what else to give it. She knows milk isn't always the best idea, but she'll put down a bowl of water and a bowl of tuna and tell Kelmore very sternly to stay out of the goddamn tuna. It's not for him. But yeah, we'll show Collins to the bathroom, make sure he has a towel and everything, and we'll probably join in on this pile here and take one side of the bed
Yep.
while he's out.
And it is. Colin takes a very long shower, and as soon as he's out, he comes out in just the towel, and then he is dry, but he face first into the bed, just like a fallen tree. Punk.
Aw. Oh, very well. Pagan Cuddle Pile is initiated.
Yes.
Or at least Pagan Mutual passing the fuck out is initiated. And I suppose with that, we will close our scene.
Dun,
So
dun,
people
dun.
can go to bed.